Andrew, thank you so much for coming to the Nature Newsroom. You are the president and CEO of the Bezos Earth Fund. $10 billion. It's the largest philanthropic funder in the world. So thank you for making the time. And let me go straight at it. You know, in my conversations in the last 2 years with other funders, they tell me, well, nature is a real distraction to fighting climate change. Do you agree?
Well, first, it's great to be here. Thank you, Patrick. It's good to see you again. Nature is not a distraction, or if it is a distraction, it's a very good one. If we're serious about climate change, we simply cannot achieve the goals that we've set ourselves unless we invest much more seriously in nature. So at the Bezos Earth Fund, we look at both climate change and nature. Nature plays a role in solving climate change, but you don't want to invest in nature just because of climate change. There are many reasons to invest in nature, including the fact that it provides all the food we eat, all the water we drink, all the oxygen we breathe. It brings joy to citizens and communities around the world. It provides incredible ecosystem services. And the great thing about this meeting here in Glasgow is, for the first time, nature has been really raised up the agenda as a true companion of all of the other things we're doing for climate on energy and cities and so on.
That's amazing. So you, from your perspective, you feel this has been the COP where nature has come to, I mean, it's the same level or not, but do you think that's happened in the past few days?
Yes, I think it's remarkable. It's been building up to this, of course, and the fact that we have a biodiversity COP15 that has already had its high-level segment. It will have its main negotiations next April in Kunming. And what we're hoping for is that the world will embrace what's called 30 by 30. 30% of all land and sea would be conserved and protected by 2030. And this would have an amazing benefit for citizens, especially indigenous people, but citizens all around the world, and it would have an amazing benefit for climate. And that's why at the UN General Assembly this year, we announced $1 billion for conservation. And 2 days ago, we announced another $2 billion for the other two strands of the nature agenda. So for us at the Bezos Earth Fund, we think we need to do three things: conservation, restoration, and transformation of food systems. We need to conserve what we still have, we need to restore what we've lost, and we need to transform food systems so we can feed a growing, hungry world without eating up the forests and the precious ecosystems that we have.
Andrew, that's great. Can I ask you about where still that resistance comes from some, specifically like with nature-based solutions? It seems to be like a ticket to free ride and not do the hard work on decarbonization. But can you understand some of the criticism that comes when we focus on nature?
Well, look, I think you're talking about sort of voluntary carbon markets in particular, or carbon markets, what are called carbon offsets. So what is absolutely and utterly a bad thing to happen would be as if you are a heavily polluting industry and you think, actually, I don't really want to take the trouble to decarbonize within my own value chain, so I'm going to pay $1 or $2 a ton to plant some trees which nobody will monitor in some other country a long way away, and I can dress myself up and look like I am a hero. That is absolutely unhelpful, and we need to call it out. However, we are now moving to a situation where some of the leading companies in the world are saying, I'm going to decarbonize within my own what's called Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3. I'm going to go net neutral, some of them are saying, under the climate pledge by 2040. And in addition to that, while I get to 2040, I'll still be emitting some greenhouse gases. I'm going to compensate for that by paying some resources and insisting on very high standards. And so, for example, there's a great coalition that's been set up called the LEAF Coalition, about 20 major companies and a number of host countries, governments, and the United States, Norway, the United Kingdom are all part of this as well, plus many of the forest countries in the developing world. And this is going to adopt the highest standard that's being created on this, what's called the supply side. It's called art trees. That is a very good thing. But of course, investing in nature is not just about carbon markets. Investing in nature is using the resources that that are available to governments, to philanthropies. So when the Bezos Earth Fund puts $3 billion into nature, we don't get anything back for that in the form of carbon credits. On the contrary, we get impact, which is so important for well-being.
And it's very clear. I mean, it's your big bet. You know, 3 billion out of the 10 going there. That's great. And I'm hearing loud and clear. There's not a ticket for a free ride from corporates not doing the decarbonization that's needed. We're out of time almost. I have one more question I can ask you, just quickly. You are coming into the philanthropic scene, so to speak, from very different field. How do you think the philanthropic community or funders need to change their approach to deal with what is clearly a planetary emergency?
Well, look, we need all hands on deck. We need governments, we need corporations, we need civil society, we need the financial sector, and we need philanthropy. The great thing about philanthropic money is that it is very flexible. It is very nimble. You can make decisions much quicker than you could if you're a government. And you can inject funds in a flexible way, thinking through what needs to be done. To the extent philanthropy needs to improve, it needs to take issues of climate change more seriously than it's taken. And there needs to be a much greater sense of teamwork. Teamwork which then can lead to scale. So, for example, just a day before yesterday, we launched something called the Global Energy Alliance. And this brings together some of the great foundations of the world, like Rockefeller and the IKEA Foundation. We're part of that as well. We hope to get $2 or $3 billion of grant money, which we can then use to leverage financing from the multilateral banking system, the World Bank, the regional banks, the development finance institutions around the world, and the private sector. By injecting smartly and at scale resources, we will be able to cross that tipping point so that the change we're trying to get, in the case of energy, will become sort of irresistible and unstoppable. So, I mean, what could be more exciting than that, Patrick?
Thank you for being on Nature's News.
Thank you.
And Andrew Steer, thank you so much.
Great to see you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.